So welcome to our Good Morning Yoga. If you haven't practiced with me before, my name is Jen. If you've practiced with me before, welcome back. So we're going to go ahead and just get started this morning. We're going to be doing a yin practice. So last week I gave you something a little bit different. We did those fun yoga intervals for the core. And we may throw that in occasionally, but today was sort of screaming for yin, at least for me. So fellow Southern Californians know that we are having a heat wave right now. And so most of us don't have AC, which is fine. We don't usually need it. It's usually really breezy and wonderful, especially here in these beach communities. But it's hot right now, so I thought that a nice sort of cooling yin practice would be really lovely this morning. So I hope you join me in that. If you're not sure what yin is, some places like to call it deep stretch. It's a practice to get into the deeper tissues of the body. So these poses will be hold longer so that they can sort of bypass the muscles and really start to work the tendons, the ligaments, the joints, some of those tissues that aren't usually worked in sort of traditional stretching. And there's lots of benefits. I won't go into all that right now, but it's a really lovely practice. It can be very difficult. We do hold the poses longer. Causes us to sort of get into our head sometimes. So that's where our breath work can come in. Maybe even some meditation while we hold. So if you want to go ahead and grab maybe a couple of props. They don't have to be actual yoga props. I do have blocks here, but that's just because I have a million of them lying around because I'm a yoga teacher. You can grab pillows, blankets. I do have 2 blankets. I have one lying the length of my mat right now just for a little added cushion. And then I do have an extra blanket and then those blocks sort of waiting in the wings if necessary. So take a moment to go ahead and grab those, and then we will start our practice in child's pose. So when you're ready, we'll make our way there. And if you're unfamiliar with that pose, I'll go ahead and find my way there and talk you through it. All right, so starting on hands and knees, the big toes will come together. And the knees can come as wide as you like. Some people like to keep the knees together to support the low back as you sit the hips back. But if the low back feels okay this morning, or whenever you're practicing, you can widen the knees, as wide as your mat, maybe even. And then set the hips back to the heels. And then just allow the body to come down, let the arms extend. And then just take the forehead all the way down to your mat. And if it doesn't quite meet the mat, that's where those blocks or blankets or pillows can come in handy, taking that underneath the forehead. So as you arrive in your child's pose, go ahead and start to soften the breath. Maybe noticing any sensations in the body here. So noticing if there's any sensations through the hips or thighs. Noticing if there's any tension. Any spots that need to soften. I'm just taking the time to
Notice these things. And then starting to find awareness with the breath. Feeling each inhale, each exhale, noticing the pause between. Noticing as the lungs fill up with air on your inhale. And then imagine your exhale traveling down the back body, the length of the spine. And as you come to the bottom of your exhale, imagining it's settling right in the area of the tailbone. As you breathe in, the breath begins at the tailbone, following the length of the spine all the way up the back body, filling the lungs. And then once again, exhaling, moving down the back, allowing the hips to soften a little bit more. Inhale, up the back body. And exhale, down the back body. Feeling that softening and that release. Trying to maintain that stillness, that quiet. But if you need to move to make any adjustments to your props or the body, feel free to do that, and then just find that quiet once again. And then take a breath in through the nose. And then open the mouth side out. And then with care, go ahead and start to bring yourself onto your hands and knees. Taking the knees back under the hips. Taking the wrists underneath the shoulders. Just take a moment in this tabletop position. Feel all of that energy rushing back into the legs.
call that the rebound. You might feel some tingling. And just breathe here for just another moment. And from here, go ahead and take the right foot, step it to the outside of the right pinky. So drawing it up towards the top of your mat. Both hands are to the inside of that right foot. And we're moving into dragon pose. So see if you can soften through the hips. And that right knee is drawing in towards the shoulder. All right. And again, we notice the sensations that happen here as we arrive in this pose. They might be intense. It's okay. We're not judging. We're just noticing. And then once again, settle with the breath. Imagining that breath moving into any areas of the body that maybe need a little bit more space. And if it's available, you're welcome to drop down onto elbows here. I like to take my blocks. You can do this with pillows or blankets as well. You just sort of stack them to the height that you need. And come onto my elbows this way. Allowing myself a little more grace this morning. Releasing tension through the jaw or the shoulders that may have started to creep in. Finding a breath in through the nose and a nice gentle sigh out through the mouth. If your hands are not on the mat, go ahead and start to make their way there, planting the palms, and then just gently drag the right foot back to meet your left, coming back to all fours. And you can stay here for a couple of breaths, or you might find it nice just to move through a couple of cat-cows. When your body feels ready, we'll meet back in that tabletop position, this time stepping the left foot to the outside of the left pinky. Okay. And then allowing the hips to soften towards your mat. Right leg is lengthened behind you. Tops of the feet are on the mat. And again, taking note of sensations that come up on this side, because they might be different. They likely are. That's absolutely a normal thing. So noticing what's happening with the body on this side. Noticing if there's tension anywhere. And if you notice any tension, notice what happens to the breath. Sometimes it becomes a little more erratic. And so finding an intentional breath, reminding yourself to breathe in and out, can be really helpful. Once again, noticing if any tension has crept into the body. Sometimes it's the jaw, sometimes it's the shoulders, sometimes, especially in this pose, you might notice you're starting to clench the muscles around the hips. And so again, we can add that option of dropping onto elbows, maybe on blocks, maybe coming all the way to the mat, if that's available to you. And we want to go to places where we can sustain in the pose. So we don't want to come into our deepest expression of that pose necessarily if we can't sustain it. Finding a breath in through the nose and sighing it out through the mouth. Palms come back to the mat. Just move any props that you might have added. And then we can just gently slide that left leg back. Again, taking a moment in our tabletop pose, or maybe even adding in a little bit of a cat-cow. And then when you feel ready, go ahead and make your way onto your bum. And we'll just face the long edge of your mat here. So I'm going to add a blanket underneath my hips for this one. You're welcome to do the same, or a pillow, or whatever you need to do. And then we're going to take our legs wide. A nice big wide V. And then the toes are facing up towards the sky. So we don't want necessarily active legs here like we would in a Hatha class or a Vinyasa class, but we do want to see if we can keep the toes facing up towards the sky, and then we'll probably help to feel that stretch in the inner thighs a bit more. So as you're here, feeling the hips rooted to the earth and feeling that tall spine. noticing the sensations here. So if you feel it up here in the inner thighs or anywhere else in the body, you're welcome to stay upright. If you notice that your knees bend as you come to this position, that's totally okay. Sometimes adding a pillow, a blanket, or that block, or just any sort of prop underneath the knees will just give it a little bit more support so you can fully feel that stretch where you need to. So that's an option too. But you're welcome to stay upright. You're welcome to fold forward, coming to a place again that you can be here and sustain for some time. Maybe adding props if you have them. And then just once again finding that breath. Once again, setting any breath into tight spaces that your body might be feeling right now. And as you're here, you might feel that you are able to go deeper into the pose, and that's absolutely okay. And then breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And go ahead and make your way back into an upright seat. And then just take the hands underneath the knees, lean back a bit, and give the legs a little help, drawing them closer into one another, bringing them at least hips distance apart, maybe wider, leaning back on the hands just a bit. And then you can just wiper the legs from side to side for a moment, allowing the energy to move back in, flow freely. here, I'm just gonna switch my direction, how I'm sitting for the camera. I'm gonna be back on that blanket. So go ahead and keep the knees bent, feet on the mat. And we'll thread the right leg underneath the left, keeping the foot flexed and bringing the shin parallel to the top of the mat. And then either taking that left leg and letting it rest in front of the right shin, or if it's available, you can stack it right on top of that shin. Okay, so both feet are flexed, and that left ankle is right on top of that knee. We're not letting it come into this. We're not coming into like a half lotus. We're coming into fire log. So you really want to make sure that the if you come to this shape, that the shins are stacked. Okay, and again, both feet are flexed, so you're pulling the toes in towards one another. And you have that tall spine. And we're noticing the sensations. Releasing any tension. Reconnecting to the breath. And just allowing yourself to settle in. So go ahead and find a breath in through the nose. And then as you breathe out, we're gonna just twist over the left shoulder. So you can take the left hand behind you, right hand onto the left knee or thigh. And just gaze over the left shoulder. Unwinding, and either staying upright or folding over the legs. Breathing in through the nose. Releasing through the mouth. If you've come into that fold, start to make your way upright. And then just take the hands behind the body, lean back, unwind the legs, and just take the feet about as wide as your mat. Take a moment before we find movement. You may like to straighten them. If you've extended the legs, maybe just sort of moving them from side to side. If you have them bent, you can start to wiper them. Just a few times. And feeling that rebound, that energy moving back into the body. And then meeting with those bent knees, feet on the mat once again, this time threading left foot, left leg under the right. Shin is parallel to the mat and the foot is flexed. And then either placing that right foot in front of the left shin or stacking the shins on top of the other, flexing the feet, making sure that that right ankle is in a happy place. And then maybe closing the eyes or just finding a soft gaze. Noticing this side. noticing the sensations. Softening the neck and the shoulders. Following the breath as it moves in and out of the body. And breathing in, lengthen through the spine all the way up to the crown of the head. And then exhale, take that twist over the right shoulder this time. So right fingertips can come to the mat behind you, left hand can rest on the right leg. Maybe gazing over the shoulder. Slowly unwinding and either staying upright or again finding that fold over the legs. And breathing in and sighing out. Starting to make your way upright if you're not already there. And then hands come behind you, leaning back. Release the legs, either extending them or letting the knees bend. And then we can start to find that movement if you like, either just sort of wiggling the legs from side to side or maybe wipering them. And then as you feel ready, go ahead and start to make your way onto your back. Lowering yourself down. Take a moment just to let the back sort of settle into the earth here. And then go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to fall wide. So if the legs and thighs need a little bit of extra support, you can take blocks right underneath the thighs. And then just bring the hands either alongside the body, palms up, or maybe over the head if that feels nice and open, or if you feel like you need a little bit more grounding, maybe taking the hands onto the belly. Relax through the hips and thighs. Soften through the chest and shoulders. Allowing the heart space to be completely open here. And then imagining your breath starting at the crown of your head. And as you inhale, it travels down the spine, all the way to the tailbone. And as you exhale, feel that breath move back up the body, all the way to the crown of the head. Inhale, sending breath all the way down to the hips and tailbone. Feeling that softening.
And then exhaling, that breath moves back up the body to the crown of the head. So if this place feels okay for you, you're welcome to stay here for a few more minutes and a final rest, or if you prefer, you can draw the knees back towards one another, moving nice and slow, and then just extending the legs, finding that traditional Shavasana. So whichever feels best in your body, just make your way there. And instead of following the breath, just allow yourself to be. Allow everything to soften. Go ahead and start to deepen your breath. Maybe taking a hand to the heart and a hand to the belly. Starting to find some movement, gently moving the head from side to side. Wiggling the fingers and the toes. If you'd like to find a full body stretch, you can reach the arms all the way over the head, stretching down to the toes and releasing as you're ready. Bending the knees and gently moving onto one side or the other before making your way back into a comfortable seat. Drawing our palms together right at our heart space and pressing the thumbs into the chest and drawing the chin towards the fingertips. Taking a moment to honor your practice and honor your body and all that it gives to you each day. Thank you so much for being here this morning and for joining me in this yin practice. Wishing you all
a lovely rest of the day and a wonderful rest of the week. Namaste, my friend.